is my third session of the week, and I was hoping nobody was going to turn up so I wouldn't have to do it. And then of course they go and video me as well, so yeah, okay. So we're going to go through some features around security, and in particular stuff that's come in with version 12. So the things we're going to talk about are transfer of ownership, the changes to migration that means you can now do it without install sysadmin authority, the new unload privilege, RACF exit updates, and finally a fair amount on pervasive encryption.
The modern types of data are hard to organize. Okay, it's streams of videos, sound, audio recordings. Okay, collections of pictures. Okay, large collections of objects which don't exactly have a hierarchy to them, or an order to them, or a binding rationale or logic between them. And that type of data in the world is growing and growing, and we're going to talk about that in a bit. And they need appropriate storage systems to manage them.
Along with that, to extract the data from there, you've either got the SMF dump programs, either the DP one for the traditional data set or the DL one for the system logger. They'll generally be put into SMF dump data sets. Most shops will split them into DB2, kicks, whatever, and then you've got your user written analysis reports and routines, and that's primarily what this session is going to be looking at. That number 7 there. That's going to assume you've all got this other part already set up.
This presentation was originally called Hot Off the Press or something like that, because the time the agenda was published we hadn't announced KICS 5.5. We have now, and that's what's hot off the press, and that's what we'll be mainly talking about over the next 50 odd minutes. Before we get into it, this is just a brief summary of what we have announced this year. These are the KICS related announcements, and I think it illustrates what we've been doing for a few releases now with continuous delivery. You'll see that 5.5 was announced in October, but every 3 months we've been announcing continuous delivery content, primarily for 5.4. So every 90 days, a lot of content which in the past would only have been made available in the next release has been made available where appropriate in current releases.
Everything that we do is on GitHub, in the github.com Zoe open source. All of our I say all of our code, it's like about 90% of our code. We're still in what we call a open beta phase. There's still a little bit of code we have to open source. And the reason that we're a little bit slow on open sourcing it is just because some of the code that we've got that depends on libraries that we're not allowed to open source. So we have to make it, make sure that the entire software stack is open source. Okay. So that's very cool. So I'm going to tell you about what's in it. But if you just think about this as like, it's super big. 3 massive companies, 3 huge vice presidents have gone and said this is going to be the future, and it's all in the open.
Today, what this session is really based on is dataset encryption. How many people have heard of ZOS dataset encryption? Hopefully everybody. How many people have not heard of ZOS dataset encryption? Nobody. Okay, awesome. So you guys are in the right place. So the idea with ZOS dataset encryption is really just one aspect of a bigger picture, which is called pervasive encryption. Pervasive encryption includes areas of encryption of data at rest, data in use, and data in transit. So we're talking about network, coupling facility, application level, database level, data set level, file level. We're talking about Linux, we're talking about ZOS, ZVM. We're talking about your disk and tape encryption, your hardware. So there's so many different aspects of pervasive encryption, and we're really right now just going to focus in on one of those, which is dataset encryption.
The idea of this presentation today is to talk about the history of the mainframe, how it's affected the cultures today, and then how it's going to affect the future and the people in the future, and who's going to be driving that forward. So I'm going to do a little bit of a presentation, got a few slides prepared, and then around halfway through the session, I'm going to stop, break out into groups, and just do individual discussions, and I'll describe that a bit later.
This session is about Z14 capacity planning, theory and practice. And this is going to be the agenda for the next hour. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the architecture of the new machine from IBM, what is new in the SMF 113 counters for the Z14. Then we will talk about the benchmark, which we feel is something really important. Some words about CPI and capacity planning. And then some useful indexes that you may track on your own situation. And the last part, as usual, I will present a couple of user real stories. And especially one to me is really interesting, but then I'll have your feedback later on.